And Howard, you touched on this a little bit earlier about just your time covering Shaq and Kobe, and today the 1 year uh, anniversary of Kobe's passing. Him and his daughter. Just quickly, what are some of your just when you think about Kobe and the time you spent around him, around that organization? What are some of the memories that immediately come to mind for you?
I mean, there are a lot. It was 7 years that I covered him and covered that team, 97 to 2004. So starting Kobe's second season when he was 19 years old and through the three championships. And then, obviously the big breakup in 2004 when they traded Shaq to Miami. That was my last season covering that team. Um, I've always summed up Kobe something like this, which is that I've never met anyone in any walk of life who is as singularly focused, dedicated, committed, to just thoroughly invested mind, body, and soul in their craft. And I don't care if it's doctors, lawyers, accountants, writers, whoever. I don't know that I've ever met anyone who is as fully invested in what they were doing and in being the greatest at it as Kobe Bryant. So everything that you ever hear, all the stuff that sounds like almost like the mythology of Kobe about his work ethic and his drive and the 2 a.m. workouts and all that, it's all true. And, the reason that people admire Kobe so much, and I had a story on SI.com today about the imprint that Kobe's left on the league and the fact that you can find, some of Kobe's best traits still among today's players, whether it's that big moment, big shot mentality that you see in Damian Lillard, whether it's just the killer work ethic that you see in like Jimmy Butler. There are other guys who emulate a lot of what made Kobe great. I don't know if any of them have everything that made him great, but so many guys in this league, as I wrote today, looked up to him, admired him, sought him out for counsel, were mentored by him, or idolized him as kids. And it's not just because of the 5 rings. Sure, that helps. Certifying yourself as a champion does, put you in a different level of standing. But it's the fact that Kobe just had this sheer audacity about him. Like those shots that you think he shouldn't have taken, Kobe practiced those. Kobe worked at them. Kobe busted his butt and he studied the game film to see that, oh, the defenders are going to guard me this way. This team's going to take this angle against me. I'm going to go here instead. And if he splits a double team or a triple team or takes some impossible shot, guaranteed he prepared for that. Guaranteed it's something that he's practiced. Guaranteed it's something that he believed he could make and probably has made. It might have even made it in that moment, and you might have still been cringing because it was the wrong choice basketball wise. But there was just an audacity and this soaring confidence in Kobe that I just think was infectious, and that whether you loved or hated him, you could admire that in him. And I think that's the lasting impression.
Yeah, well, we certainly see the impact of Kobe right here in Boston and Jason Tatum, who grew up a huge Kobe Bryant fan. His dad actually, him and I talked earlier pre-pandemic about just that infatuation his son had with Kobe, and his dad played with Larry Hughes, who was in Cleveland at the time, and they arranged for Tatum to have some time with Kobe. And that is, a picture that, Tatum had in the bedroom forever and a day. And if you probably, if you did a scan of his room right now, you'd probably still find that picture there.
Right.
And when you look at a lot of the things that he does, there is a very Kobe-esque feel about them without question. But Howard, that makes me think about the rivalry between the Celtics and the Lakers and just Kobe's place in that rivalry. Someone that, every now and then you'll see a picture on the internet where he's in a Celtics jersey
Yeah.
before he was drafted, where he just happened to be in town and things like that. What did that rivalry, from your perspective, mean to Kobe Bryant, that Celtics Lakers rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, it meant a ton, obviously, because Kobe wasn't just one of the all-time greats, and certainly one of the all-time great Lakers, maybe the greatest Laker, depending on who's creating that list. But he was a student of the game and a student of history, and he could tell you. And I remember actually him telling me about the great ball handlers and everything, and talking about Bob Cousy, and like Kobe could draw from any era, any players, any reference. I don't know where he got all this film, but he seemed to have like he must have had like his own direct line to like Secaucus and NBA Entertainment or something, like a personal account. I felt like he had watched all of NBA history because he did. He would make those references, and he knew all of that. And besides that, he, as a kid growing up, he was a big Magic Johnson guy and a big Laker fan, and so of course he had great and deep appreciation for that Lakers Celtics rivalry. And obviously he'd already won 3 championships and been to 4 finals long before the Lakers and Celtics met in 2008. So for him to finally get back to that moment, to have that opportunity again, and have it be Lakers Celtics, and to get to write his own chapter in that, was just huge. And I'm certain, and I'm sure there were quotes back at the time, that losing that was probably as devastating as any of his NBA setbacks. And then winning a couple of years later to avenge that, again, one of his all-time great achievements. I mean, I don't know that Kobe ever ranked his championships. I'm sure somebody over the years must have asked him to. And I'd be curious to know. I don't know off the top of my head where 2010 ranks, but it's got to be right up there. He loved the rivalry. He loved the history of the game, and he certainly relished those chances to go up against the big three.